Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Pocketful of Mojo, where you're you and I'm Steph, and we tune in here to tap into some mojo. You see, I think I've cracked the code to being happy. I'm happy every single day. No joke. Now, I wasn't always this way, and you can trust and believe, and not to flex, but I've had breakdowns on multiple continents and in 2 languages. But by paying attention and living with more intention, I've created a wellness first aid kit full of amazing tools that help me out of and help avoid getting into life's most sticky and stressful situations. And I'm not here to gatekeep. I'm on a mission to help you tap into your best stuff and remember that you have everything you need to live a life on your own terms. So settle in, we're here for some positive change. So let's explore together where your mojo meets the road. In today's episode, I'm going to review our mantra for the week, and then we're going to dig into today's main topic, which is taking personal inventory, how all the parts make the whole. I know you've got so many podcasts to choose from, and I'm super pumped that you're here. So you stick around, and I'm going to make sure that you're glad that you did. Let's get started with today's mantra and get tuned in, tapped in, and turned on. Hello, and welcome to the 22nd episode of Pocketful of Mojo. And once again, I'm Steph. Nice to meet you. I'm your mojo maven, your cheerleader, your soul sister, your emotional Sherpa, if you will, and I'm so glad you're here. It's going to be a very educational episode, so let's dig in. Let's start by getting grounded, shall we? Today's mantra is one of the ones that highlights that what we know and what we do can sometimes produce a gap. So let's have a look. Today's mantra is, I'm happiest when I live as my true, authentic self. Work. Okay, friends, let's unpack this one. I am happiest when I live as my true, authentic self. When was the last time you were happiest? What were you doing? Who were you with? Were you laughing? Were you sharing your ideas about something that you're really passionate about? What were the conditions that allowed your amazing self to shine through? This food for thought can unlock a whole bunch of insight about ourselves. And without fabulous podcasts like this one, when do we take the time to think about these things? There's gold in these them answers. So I challenge you to take a minute over your next cup of coffee to come up with some of your own answers. There's no wrong answers, so this is a great way to tune into yourself and find out what comes up for you. I am happiest when I live as my true, authentic self. Truth is, we don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to start to live out of alignment with who I am. Look, it's a slow drip. One little accommodation here, one little ick tolerated there, and before you know it, we've drifted away from our truest self. It can sneak up on you. And I'm sorry to say, but you'll barely notice that it's happening. So this mantra reminds us that there is a direct correlation between our own happiness and our connection to ourselves. I am happiest when I live as my true, authentic self. Discovering who we really are is less about finding ourselves and more about letting go of what we're not. We take on and absorb so much that if we're not careful, we can drift away from our foundations and end up somewhere where we don't even recognize ourselves. Trust me, I've done it. Do not recommend. 0 stars. But when we are at happiest, that's a sign that we're in alignment with our best stuff, not someone else's. We've created a great and loving environment and have the best people around. I am happiest when I live as my true, authentic self. Woo, how good was that? Okay, there's so much value in tuning into our own thoughts. And sometimes when it's guided by the right questions, it makes such a big difference. Am I right? So we're going to keep going. Let's dig into the power of taking personal inventory. This episode is dedicated to those of us who are tired of living a life on autopilot, rinse and repeat, constantly catering to the needs and expectations of other people. Sound familiar? Well, good thing, because that means that you're right on time and you're in the right place. Maybe you find yourself wondering if you've lost touch with who you really are, but you can't quite finish the thought because all your efforts go into making everyone around you happy. Well, my friends, it's time to press pause on the perpetual cycle of pleasing and start prioritizing yourself for a change. But how, you ask? Well, by diving headfirst into the transformational and awakening practice of taking personal inventory. Now, I get it. For us recovering people pleasers, the very idea of turning the spotlight on ourselves can be kind of daunting. We've become such masters at tuning into the needs and the desires of people around us, and we're really good at it. It's just become second nature. But when it comes to our own well-being, we can often find ourselves at a loss. Coming up with a list of our own wants and needs might even be a bit of a struggle. After all, isn't selflessness supposed to be a virtue? Well, yeah, to an extent. Constantly putting other people's needs above our own is going to inevitably leave us feeling depleted, disconnected, and ultimately less than awesome. So let's talk about why taking personal inventory is such a challenge. Well, for starters, it makes us face some uncomfortable truths about ourselves. We have to look at our strengths and our weaknesses, and our fears and our desires. And let's be real, facing some of those truths head on can be scary, especially if it's been a while, because acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, we've been neglecting our own needs in favor of keeping up appearances or avoiding conflict, it doesn't feel cute. After all, it's the way we've always done it, right? So we're kind of locked in now, right? No, not at all. Because here's the kicker. Deep down, underneath all the layers of people-pleasing behavior, it's a burning desire to just be ourselves and then be loved anyway, am I right? We crave the freedom to just be ourselves without fear of judgment or rejection. But how do we do that? Sure, it would be nice to break up with our addiction to validation and wake up in a place where we fully love ourselves and pursue our passions, quirks and all. Well, guess what, Buttercup? Taking personal inventory is the key to unlocking that freedom. So how exactly do we go about taking personal inventory, and why is it so important? Well, think of it as spring cleaning for the soul. It's about taking stock of where we are, how we got here, and where we want to go in this life. It's about looking at our thoughts and our feelings and the way we are with a little bit of curiosity and some compassion. Yay! Rather than judgment and criticism. Boo. And most importantly, it's about getting back in the driver's seat of our own lives and getting ready to make some choices that are actually in tune with who we are and where we want to go. But first, we've got to figure out what we've got in the engine and determine where it is we want to go before we check in with everyone else. The key here is that your opinion is the only one that matters. Maybe not a state that we're entirely familiar with, but certainly one worth getting comfortable with. So check this out. Here are some real-life, honest-to-goodness, actionable steps that you can take to start feeling more in tune with yourself through personal inventory. Let's break it down. The first thing that you want to do is set aside regular time for self-reflection. Make it daily. Carve out a few minutes each day just to check in with yourself, whether that's journaling or meditation or simply sitting in a quiet contemplation. These can be powerful tools for self-reflection. Or you can make it weekly. Take time every Sunday night before taking on a new week to reflect and take stock of how you got here and where you want to go. Be sure to check out the Pocketful of Mojo podcast episode on solitude for more ways to go deep with your own self-reflection. The bottom line here, protect your me time. Schedule it. Treat your self-reflection time as sacred. Set aside a specific time each day, whether it's first thing in the morning, during your lunch break, or right before bed. You're going to want to create a cozy environment. Find a quiet, comfortable space where you can fully get into it and go through the process without any distractions. That means phones down. And get creative. Experiment with some different techniques. If traditional meditation isn't your thing, try other mindfulness practices like deep breathing exercises, guided visualizations, or an awareness walk. It's like a regular walk, but you pay attention to everything. The next thing you want to do is make a list of your values and your priorities. Write it down. Write it down and really take a look at your list. It's important to have a visual staring back at you until you really see yourself in that list. What truly matters to you? What are you passionate about? Take some time to clarify your values and your priorities and use them as guiding principles when it comes to decision making. If you're having a hard time coming up with a list, just Google personal values and see what jumps out at you. Your call to action here is take the time. Itemize your values and priorities. You can do this simply by starting with curiosity. Think about your past. What brought you joy? What made you feel fulfilled? What's given you a sense of purpose? And what values showed up in those moments? Then you can make it visual. Create a vision board, or list your core values and priorities. Display it somewhere that you look at regularly as a daily reminder of what truly matters to you. It's easy to get off track, so have your own back. When you feel disconnected or off balance, you're going to have a visual reminder of where you're going and what's important. It's important to remember that throughout this process, stay flexible. Your values and priorities may have evolved over time. You may think that it's one thing, but it may not quite feel right. Keep digging. Taking on this task of self-discovery is an ongoing process of growth, and it's all part of the package. You get to change your mind. You're the boss. No one's coming to check your work, I promise. One of the key things you can do throughout this process is challenge your limiting beliefs. We all have wacky things that we believe about ourselves that actually hold us back from living our best lives. These can be sneaky beliefs that started a long time ago when the world was different. And at the time, maybe it made some sense. But the key here is to call out any negative or limiting beliefs that you might hold about yourself, or might be keeping you from playing big, and actively work to reframe them in a more positive light. It's time to take up your beefs with your limiting beliefs. So practice a little something called cognitive reframing. This is when you catch yourself thinking a negative or self-deprecating thought and challenge it. Make sure that you come up with some evidence to the contrary and highlight it and truly feel it. Ask yourself, is this belief really true, or am I just holding on to it out of habit? What lingers in the dark will be exposed by the light. You will never hear another voice more than you hear your own. So make sure that it's feeding you thoughts and ideas that lift you up, not put you down. It's also a perfect time to do some research. Talk to your trusted besties, your mentors, or even a therapist. They can offer some fresh insights and help you see things from a different angle. We've all got blind spots. It's human nature. We can only operate with information that we already have. So if we're missing some data, we could be missing out on the puzzle piece that brings the whole picture into focus. Don't be afraid to bring in some trusted advisors. This will also require you to get good at self-compassion. Remember, it's okay to stumble along the way, and it's going to happen. And it doesn't mean that it's not working. It's all part of the play. So it's super important to make sure that when you're dealing with your priorities, you need to be able to treat yourself with some kindness and some understanding, and absolutely celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Did you maybe try and fail 6 days this week before being able to set aside time for yourself? Well, you can either beat yourself up for those 6 days or celebrate the fact that you kept going. I think you know the right answer to that one. And you know what? It's so important. We're going to make it its own step. So here's number 4. Practice self-compassion. My darling, be kind to yourself, especially when facing difficult emotions or experiences. Never apologize for how you feel. This process will be tricky and will invite you to confront some things that are tough. That's okay. You will survive. Sit with it. Work through it. Honor what got you here. It has its place too, even if it doesn't serve or define you anymore. Those feelings, they're worth grieving as you let them go. It's important to remember to treat yourself with the same level of kindness and understanding that you would offer your favorite person. And for the sake of Pete, I repeat, practice self-compassion. Here's how. You can start by developing a self-care routine. Focus on doing things that feed your mind, your body, and your soul, whether it's taking a bubble bath, going for a nature walk, or just indulging in your favorite hobby. Whenever I'm feeling adrift, I know I bake. It helps me to dial into doing something step by step, gets me out of my head, and there's always a delicious reward at the end. You'll also want to really get good at practicing your gratitude. Develop a mindset of gratitude. You can do this by regularly thinking about the things that you appreciate about yourself and your life. It's okay, no one will know. Keeping these gems in a journal helps to build the routine and actively rewires your brain to refer back to these moments when we need them the most. You're also going to want to set some boundaries. Learn to say no to things that steal your energy or compromise your wellness. The more you're in tune with yourself, the easier these things are to spot and then avoid. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that setting boundaries, it's not selfish. It's an act of self-respect and self-preservation. Setting boundaries is something you do for you. No one else can or will do it for you. Now, this all seems like a lot. So when in doubt, check out number 5. Get some help. Remember, you don't have to go it alone. Reach out to trusted friends, family, or a therapist for support, and serve up some courage when you ask for guidance while you're navigating this crazy process of self-discovery. There's some heavy lifting here, but you don't have to go it alone. I know for me, I wouldn't be anywhere near the stratosphere I'm at now without my tribe. And sometimes they don't have to have the answers. Just be there to listen. Sometimes hearing your thoughts out loud can be the game changer and serve up the light bulb moments over a simple cup of coffee and an open heart. This will not only make you stronger, but will deepen your friendships and relationships along the way. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. Stepping out of your comfort zone and digging into some personal growth can be challenging at times. And yeah, it's going to mean confronting your fears, trying on some vulnerability, and facing the possibility of rejection or failure. And those things may not traditionally be our best friends. Yeah, but it's a necessary ingredient in change. And I can tell you from the other side, you'll live. But here's the beautiful thing. It's also astronomically rewarding. So remember, you're not alone. Seek that support. Build your support network. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you, and don't hesitate to lean on them for support when you need it. The people you want to celebrate with, they're going to be there when times are tough. They'll have your back when you feel stuck or need to talk it out. Use that. And you can always consider therapy or coaching. Professional guidance can serve up some pretty valuable insights and give you some tools to help navigate your personal growth. Don't hesitate to seek out therapy or coaching if you feel stuck or overwhelmed. And there's always power in community, whether it's an online forum or a support group or maybe a local meetup. Connecting with people that are like-minded can give you a sense of camaraderie and some encouragement as you keep going on this self-discovery adventure. And you're going to realize real quick, you're not alone. Isolation station is not your stop. Reaching out takes courage, but you've already got everything you need. And there are no bears chasing you, despite what your nervous system might be telling you. Remember, the journey of self-discovery is unique to every individual. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. The key is this: trust yourself, be patient with the process, and celebrate every single step forward, no matter how small. This is a great way to monitor your inner dialogue and make sure the voice in your head is your biggest cheerleader. You are capable of incredible growth and transformation, and I dare you to do the work and then prove me wrong. And by diving into the practice of taking personal inventory, you're taking a powerful step towards living a life that is authentically yours. Doesn't that sound cool? So go ahead, embrace your true self and watch as the world opens up in ways you never thought possible. There are few things in this world more fun than surprising yourself, and your adventure starts now. When you commit to taking personal inventory and stepping into your badass self, you open yourself up to a world of possibilities. You start to create deeper connections with other people and become a magnet for the right people. And it's all based in genuine mutual understanding and respect. And that's hot. That kind of thing, it's not just for fairy tales and daydreams. When you do so, you will feel more empowered to tackle your passions and chase your biggest dreams. That's right. I'm talking about the best kind of Toodaloo here, and you won't be held back anymore by your old need for outside approval. And maybe most importantly, you'll experience a deep sense of inner peace and fulfillment that can only come when you're living in tune with your truest self. So, my fellow recovering people pleasers, I challenge you to take on the transformational power of taking personal inventory. It may not always be easy, but I promise you, the road to self-discovery and authenticity is one worth taking. And now you've got the roadmap. Remember, you are worthy of love, acceptance, and belonging exactly as you are. Notice how I didn't say fitting in, because those days are over. This is about you. So go ahead. Take that first step towards reclaiming your truest self, and your future self will thank you for it. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Remember, self-love and self-acceptance are the foundation for a Mojo Master, and I know that you have everything that you need to live a full life, fill your own cup, and drink in all the good stuff that this life has to offer. You deserve it. So be sure to come find me on Insta and let me know how you're coming along with your Mojo adventure. And you can find my handle and a few fun links in the show notes, so make sure you check that out. Come back next time where we're going to explore all that is boundaries, learning how to advocate for yourself and how to do so as yourself. So be sure to come back next time because it's going to be a gooder. So until then, stay awesome and keep spreading those positive vibes. Be kind out there. Toodaloo, kangaroo. Mwah.